Hello and welcome to the EnterpriseTalk Conversation Series, a peer knowledge resource by the CXOs for the CXOs. Now to our host, Kanika Goswami.
Good evening, Boris. We have today with us Boris Paillard. He's the CEO at Wagon, it's the world's leading coding school, which has grown to over 40 campuses in the last 8 years, setting up 40 campuses in 25 countries and developing almost 2,500 apps along the way and creating about 10,000 graduates. So today, they're one of the most successful coding schools in the world. We shall be speaking to Boris about his journey from a startup to a market leader in his field. Hi, Boris. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me tonight.
Oh, it's a pleasure. So, from your expertise, we are going to ask you some questions about the state of skills required to meet the demands of the industry today. So, the first question that we have for you, Boris, is what are your views on the widespread adoption of digital transformation among enterprises and the resulting factors that drive the growing demand for data science skills in companies of all sizes, small and big?
Yeah, thank you for starting with that, because actually it's really an important topic. We all know that all companies around the world are of course affected by the evolution of technology and the internet, and of course they need to adapt to this new reality. And actually, when people think about the digital transformation, we always focus more on the product and the fact that company can be disrupted by newcomers. We have a better application and better fits customer needs. So you can think of, the newcomer in the financial, like the new banks like Revolut or N26 that try to disrupt existing industry. But it's just not that, and that there are lots of things that are not really related to companies being disrupted, but just the impact that technology and especially internet is having on how you actually operate a company. So the first thing, obviously, is the product side, and every company in the world is affected by the way we are using software as consumers, and need to change their products to have better user experience for the end customer. And that's a big challenge for companies that have been operating for a while and have some kind of legacy in the way they work. But the other impact of technology that's disrupting also company from the inside is related on one hand to automation. There are lots of tasks that can be, of course, automated using software and API. And there is this famous quote like software is eating the world. And of course, software is changing a lot the way you manage some tasks that before were managed by human beings. So it can be emailing, invoicing. I would say all the tasks can be in some way automated with software. And that's changing a lot from the inside. The way a company operates, and that's why it creates some unfair advantage for a company who can use all this technology in order to have optimized operation versus some industry that have some also legacy into that. So that's kind of the first part is technology is definitely transforming every company from the inside, because it allows now to automate a lot of things. And not just because of AI. AI is some field that can automate some operation, but even pure simple task with some software written by human and not necessarily AI or machine learning can actually perform operation. And that's a big change for the productivity of every company. And the last thing, of course, that's part of the would say digital transformation, apart from this automation, is of the use of data. Because since every company is now using a lot of software for the marketing, for the product, for the customer support, for basically all the customer journey, this of course generates a lot of data, and in turn you need to analyze this data to take better decision, and that's basically a big challenge. If I just take the example of marketing, which of course is one of the field generating a lot of data through your CRM or through all the interaction you can have with a prospect or potential or a customer. There are so many now like channels that you can use to promote your service from a marketing standpoint, and you can adopt so many strategies that it has become impossible to take like decision based on the human thinking, because so you need to adopt a data-driven approach, of course at a certain scale when you are a business with a certain scale, because otherwise it's just not possible, and that's why that the digital marketing is going more and more into that direction. With a need to have marketing specialists that understand that data is key, and that have this culture of data, of mapping their customer journey, gathering the right data, and then based on this, taking the right decision to assess the performance of their campaigns or to readjust their strategy. So basically, that's my view on the digital transformation. There is one part like the disruption with real breakthrough, but what's happening really is like the automation of every company due to software, and all the massive volume of data that is generated and that needs to be used in order to take better decisions. And so basically this growing this volume of data also, as you say in your question, it creates of course a need of more people with I would say a data profile, because there are lots of jobs within data science, from the analyst to the scientist to the engineer, but there are growing needs of data experts. But there is also a growing need to have domain experts on marketing, on customer support, on every other field of your existing company that do have some knowledge of data, I would say.
Right. And but when you're using technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning, how do you combine it with data to make extremely personalized and customized judgments, you think?
So AI, that's true that AI and machine learning are I would say maybe a bit the buzzwords within data science, because like that's a bit we like to think about the future, or like self-driving cars, or like automate like text that can be generated, or image that can be generated by a computer. So it's kind of making people dream a bit of what could be the future. But AI and machine learning have lots of application, of course, and are transforming some industries. If you look at the bank, you can use machine learning for fraud detection, for improving your customer support, automating with some AI or machine learning models. So there are some immediate impact of AI on some business that will use machine learning in order to automate some tasks or to create new services. But as I was stating before, lots of automation are not necessarily requiring AI. I mean, if I look at some basic treatment, some processing of data, or some basic operation that can be performed by someone, it's something that can be also automated by software. So AI is not necessarily the only reason why lots of tasks are being automated. It can be like normal software that's I would say deterministic software, not AI. So it's for me the top of the iceberg. The real transformation that's happening is the growing need of company to also like centralize their data, process it, and take decision based on it. And machine learning is at the end of the funnel. Is whenever you have centralized your data, you've put in place a lot of things that enable you to use data to improve your productivity, to take better decisions. Of course, there might be some application of machine learning, but that's really not the main need of company that needs to be more data driven. There are lots of needs at the start of the funnel. So again, taking marketing as an example, marketing is you can use AI to, based on some users' information, predict what kind of persona they are, or recommend some products using machine learning. But that's of course one part of the marketing where AI and machine learning can build some customized recommendation. But the real the real needs in terms of data in marketing is more like all the rest of it, which is like marketing analytics, which is like getting the data from all your customer during the customer journey. So just getting the right information, centralizing that, and then based on that, for instance, seeing what campaigns are the more performs the best, and all the marketing analytics that are linked to that, and prediction of product or recommendation is a part of basically improving maybe the average basket of an e-commerce website or things like that. But there are most needs of companies to have a more data-driven approach of their marketing in order to make better decision in terms of where they are putting some budget, basically. Taking another example, there are lots of analysts working on the product side. So if I take, I don't know, some application that we are all using, like Get Around, maybe when you're making a request to book a car, then the application will recommend you to actually continue to ask to other car owner to maximize your chance of actually getting accepted. And this is an iteration. This is of course the way the application is working. But before that, there was lots of prior version that did not work like that, and there was lots of analysts who take the data from the user experience on the application of Get Around and test different versions of the application to optimize the conversion and the match between a car owner and a car and someone who wants to rent a car. So that's just another example, this time not on the marketing part, but more on the product part, that you can use data to actually refine your product. But again, this is not machine learning. This is more like centralizing and analyzing the data in order to improve either your productivity or improve your product. So these are the two big fields we find in companies on where there are some needs in data. It's on the marketing side, of course. It's on the product side, and AI and machine learning are one of the can bring some solution to some business issue or some question that you might have. But really, that's not where most companies have most needs. There are lots of other things that needs to be solved with better data science skills or data analyst skills. I can take a last example for education, because at the end of the day, I run a school, and with COVID, there was a switch to remote from most schools. And this has generated a lot of new data for schools on what we call like the learning analytics. And again, the first step before maybe getting, AI generated teaching is before that, to use these analytics to know how we can improve our curriculums, how we can iterate on our content and or in the way we deliver our courses. And that's the first part. So to answer your question, there are lots of application of AI and machine learning, especially in some industry like the bank or finance, I would say. But the challenge of a lot of company is more on having enough skills internally to better map the data, centralize it, analyze it, and then build some interesting data analytics dashboard or machine learning models that can help them to solve some internal question they have.
Right. So this would bring us directly to the next question. According to you, what were the data skills that enterprises are struggling to meet the requirements of data analysis, as you had just said earlier? And what steps do you think they can take to fill these gaps to keep their operations running? Because this is an uncertain business landscape. Data plays a very, very important part in creating the right insights and hence the right strategies. So how do you think organizations can keep, fill the gaps in the skills that they may be facing at this point in time?
So if, for instance, if I take the example of our hiring partner in our London campus, so the company we work with that want to recruit our graduates, all of them, despite COVID, are planning to increase their data science teams anything between 25 to 100% despite COVID this year. So of course there is a growing need not only of new skills in your current organization, but also in terms of hiring new person. So there is a growing hiring needs for analysts, for scientists, for engineers, or for data managers that can also be the connection between business people and data experts internally. So either you don't have like lots of solution to this skills gap. Either you hire new people to fill these positions because you can't really do that internally, or you upskill your existing teams or reskill some people you have internally to these new jobs. And that's basically the two only options for a company. It's to train their people or to hire talent. There is no like magic solution to it. In terms of the precise skills, there are, if you look at classic data science teams, for one, maybe data science or machine learning expert with a PhD in mathematics, you might have like maybe 3 or 4 analysts and 1 engineer that's more working on centralizing the data and building the data warehouse and so on to make this accessible to the other team members. So of course there are big needs in terms of analyst or data manager with broad skills that are combining some domain expertise, some business expertise with some tech expertise. And to have these people internally, it's the good news is like because of the evolution of the data science industry, now data science has different tools that enable someone without a PhD profile or without a strong engineering profile to make a lot of things, because the evolution of the industry has changed very rapidly. There are lots of tools that allow you to compute, like in cloud computing, that allows you to compute big volumes of data without having to develop the infrastructure for it. Or there are lots of machine learning library that allows not anyone, but anyone with a sufficient background in data science to actually implement the most advanced machine learning models without having a PhD in mathematics. So the evolution of the tools, the library, and that is linked to the growth of this industry makes now the field more accessible to a wider population, which means that internally it has become for me easier also to upskill some of your marketers, some of your financial analysts that maybe are using Excel and VBA, but it has become more accessible to train these people to these new tools, because now it's more accessible than it was maybe, I don't know, like 5 to 10 years ago, where you needed people with a strong engineering or mathematics background only that could work in this field. Now there is a broader need of people with different profiles, and the field has become also more accessible. But for that, the real solution is to invest in the upskilling of your teams, because maybe sometimes corporate upskilling was considered by a company as a nice to have, a perk, something that maybe some of your employees will do that on their free time. And companies need to understand that they are their people basically, and so they need really now to invest in upskilling their teams on these topics, and that's how they will create also a culture of data internally in all the departments, and that's how also they will give a culture of learning how to learn to their employees, and this can have like a lot of impact in the long run. But for that, they need to see like upskilling not as something that's not core to their business, or something that's a perk, nice to have, but really that needs a clear strategy with real impacts, basically.
Right. So this was going to be my next question. What trends do you think will enable enterprises to address the new skill gap going forward in 2021 and over maybe the next year? We are going to have a new normal on our hands as far as industry is concerned. So what do you think that enterprises should be able to do to address the gaps for the new skills? But as you say, I think upskilling would be the best answer, isn't it? Is there anything else you think they can do?
So, I mean, there are lots of ways you can do upskilling, and I feel like the strategy of the companies toward upskilling a bit like the one they have with hiring. So you don't use only one channel for hiring. You use lots of different channels, and it's a bit the same for upskilling solution. So companies started to buy online license to kind of technical courses on lots of different platforms, because that was the easy thing to do. In some way, you're buying some license and trying to implement them, trying to make sure that your employee will follow these e-learning or online courses. And in some way, it can work for some of the people, but companies have realized that the return on investment of this was not sufficient, because of course there is a problem of engagement. And in education, it's really important to engage your students. It's as important as the content you have in your course. So still, it's a good. I would say it's a good way to start. But companies have started there buying a lot of online courses, and now there is a trend in the upskilling that they are more and more convinced that they need in-person training or live teaching in a remote environment, because with COVID we can't really necessarily do in-person training, that they need to also use different kind of work with different kind of providers to have more impact with live teaching courses and different solutions. And there are lots of companies like the Wagon or like General Assembly that also are providing like corporate training to upskill employees. And now with COVID, and all these companies are also have learned how to do that with very great results in a remote environment. And my point is, like, it gives like more option to companies, because in the past they were thinking about, okay, if I want to upskill my teams, either I buy some online license or I need to organize some in-person training, but that takes a lot of logistics to organize. And I think that's what we are seeing with lots of players like us that are coming to the market, that are able to deliver live taught courses remotely and with real impact. It's giving some alternative to the companies in their digital training strategy and how they can approach that. And it's not anymore just like, okay, either online self-paced course or actually organizing some in-person training. There are a lot of other alternative solutions that can be implemented basically.
Right. And then thank you so much, Boris, for your insights. Extremely informative, and I'm sure for our readers as well, they are going to be giving a lot of information, which is really, really prudent at this time. Thank you so much, Boris, for your time.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Thank you so much for being with us. Please do follow us on social media for regular updates and new content.